Hello, sixth graders. We are learning about measures of central tendency. So this is, you're given a set of data and we're using that data to calculate some things. Our learning target is I can find the mean, median, mode, and range of a set of data. This might be review for some of you, but it's a good refresher either way. So please make sure you watch all the way through, do all of the examples, and take some really good notes. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to learn about is the mean. This is the average of all of the numbers in a data set. And here's the steps for how to find the mean. You add up all of the numbers and then divide how many numbers there are in the set. So if there was 12 numbers, then you would divide the total by 12. If there's 3 numbers, you divide the total by 3. So an example of where you would use this is calculating your grade in math class. So you are looking at your 5 tests that you took over the year and you're trying to calculate your grade. You would use, or to figure out your average age, you would do that by calculating the mean. So we're going to practice that with these numbers that are here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add all of these numbers together. Okay, so we would do 84 plus 90 plus 92 plus 65 plus 73 plus 99 plus 100 plus 90. And you can use a calculator on this. Just as you are doing it, make sure that you are very careful about typing stuff in and that you don't accidentally miss a number or type a number in incorrectly, because that will then throw off your answer. So when you add all of these together, I got 693. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So then you are going to take 693 and you are going to divide it by 8. And you get 86.625. And a lot of times you'll either round to the nearest whole number or the nearest tenth. So nearest tenth would be 86.6. So if these were the scores that you got on your different math tests throughout the year, your average or your mean would be an 86.6%. Just a couple memes for you here that you can take a look at and read. Okay, the next one is the median, or the middle in a sorted list of numbers. I think of median, when I hear that, I think of like the median on the road or the highway. That's like the middle divider. So we're looking for the middle number. So how do we find it? First, you put them in order from least to greatest. That is very important to put them in order. And then you find the middle number. And you do this by just crossing one off of the lowest side and then one off of the greatest, and keep doing that until you end up in the middle. If you have an even amount of numbers, you're going to end up with 2 numbers in the middle. If that happens, you would then find the mean of them. So you would add those 2 numbers together, divide by 2. You're trying to figure out what's in the middle of them. So example, you're trying to figure out the number of fundraisers sold by members on the baseball team. So you have some people that sold 19, some that sold 22. You're trying to figure out that middle number. So first, putting them in order least to greatest. Well, 1 is the least. Then it looks like 18, 19, and another 19, and then 20, 21, 22, 23, and 250. So now that I have them in order from least to greatest, then I go through and I cross them out, one of the least, one of the greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, until you get to the middle number. So that means the median for this set of data is 20. And again, if you had been left with 2 numbers in the middle, then you would add those 2 numbers together and divide them by 2 to figure out which number is in between them. So that's the median. Mode, this is the number that appears the most. They kind of sound similar, mode, most. So again, how to find it? You're just trying to find the number that appears the most. Sometimes it helps if you put them in order first, just because then you can see easily which shows up. If you have more than one number that appears the same amount as another number, then there is more than one mode. So you could have multiple modes. If you had a number, two different numbers that each showed up 3 times, they both would be the mode. And then if no number appears more than once, or more than any of the others, then there is no mode, and you would just say no mode. All right, so example of using mode, finding the most common grade who came to the Irish Way 5K. So I am going to put them in order again. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 6s, and I've got 7, 7, 7, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 8s. So now it's easy to tell, okay, I have more 6s for sure, so the mode is 6. That's the one that appeared the most. If there was another 7 in this set of data, so then they each had 4, then the mode would be 6 and 7. And if they were all equal and none of them appeared more than any of the others, then you would just say no mode. Something to note here, mode is the only measure of central tendency. Again, measure of central tendency, that's just fancy words for the mean, median, mode, range. And that's the only thing that you can find with non-number values. So let's say that you you're at a birthday party and they ask what kinds of pizza does everybody want. They would order the kind that gets the most. Okay, so you would go through and see, okay, 7 people said pepperoni, 5 said cheese, and 6 said sausage. Okay, pepperoni was the mode or the most, so that's what they would order. Mean, median, and range, you cannot find those if it's a non-number item. Okay, the next thing is the range. This is the difference between the lowest and the highest value in a set of numbers. So how do you find the range? You take the highest number, or the max, and you subtract the lower number, the minimum. So looking at this example of using range, finding the weather temp change over a 24-hour period. So you would take the highest and the lowest and subtract, and that would tell you how much the weather changed. So looking at our information here, you're just trying to find the highest and the lowest. Well, I see 24 looks like the highest, and 5 looks like the lowest. So 24 minus 5. And throughout this entire, all of this mean, median, mode, range, you can use a calculator. So the range is 19. Subtract the highest and the lowest. Something to note when you are looking at mean, median, mode, range is that sometimes you have something that's called an outlier. An outlier is a much smaller or larger number than the rest of the set of data. So it kind of doesn't really fit. So depending on which measure of central tendency you're trying to find, it can really throw off your data set. So for example, we're back to this fundraiser one. A lot of the numbers are around 20, but then you have these couple, 1 and 2 and 250, that are completely on opposite sides, and they really throw off the data. So then when you're finding them, or when you're finding the mean, median, mode, range, they calculated those for us here. But if you look, the mean, again, that means the average, a number that's kind of in the middle of everything you got. Well, the average they're saying is almost 40, but almost everybody got less than 40, and even the ones, nobody's even close to that. So those numbers, those outliers, really throw off the data. Okay, the median and the mode are still pretty similar because, again, you're finding those middle numbers are what appeared the most, but the range, again, the difference, that's a pretty big difference in your set of data. So just something to note, outliers can kind of skew your data or kind of throw off your mean, median, mode, or range, depending on what you have. Okay, just another review for each of them all together here for you to see. The mean is the average. To find it, add them all up and then divide by the number of values. Median, that's the middle. Put them in order and then eliminate until you get to the middle number. Mode, that's the number that appears the most. Find which number shows up the most times out of the data. And then the range, that's taking is the difference from the highest and the lowest through subtracting. So there's a good visual for you to see all of them together with the explanations for it. And they even provide you examples that you can look at. Okay, This part I want you to do. I am going to be looking at the bottom of your notes to see if you have this done in order to give you points. So in January, a group of 6th graders at RMS were asked how long it takes them to get to school each day. Here are the results in minutes. And you have to then find the mean, median, mode, and range. So please make sure that you do this part and have it somewhere where I can see easily that it's the you do and the example for all this. Have work shown for each part. Otherwise, that's all I have. Don't forget to upload and submit your notes to the submission spot on Schoology. Send me any emails with questions that you might have. Otherwise, go back and rewatch it again if you're still a little confused.